okay, I want to work with a company where where actually the code is really, really good. And when I looked at the Spryker code, I was impressed. You can change any tiny part of Spryker. I think it's very elegant and interesting.
Hey Vasily, thanks for joining us for another cool community interview, and I'm really looking forward to meet you or e-meet you, have that short conversation with you. So yeah, without further ado, maybe you would like to introduce yourself quickly to everyone listening and watching this video.
Hi Samuel, I'm happy to be here. Hi everyone who's watching me and us making this interview. So I'm Vasily. I can describe myself as a developer with a lot of experience in related areas, like I was a team lead, tech lead, engineering manager. You know, I was always trying to find this kind of mix between manager and technical role, and in different proportions. It was really interesting to try different paths inside of this, you know, IT area. But at some point I understood, yeah, probably management is, I got a bit of like burnout and decided to focus back on the on the development part again. So now I'm a freelancer developer. I'm focusing on Spryker projects. I have overall 15 years of experience with mostly with PHP, but also with other technologies. I moved from Moscow to Berlin 8 years ago in 2016. By chance, I can tell this story if you're interested also.
Nice.
But I'm happy to be here, and that's the story short.
Cool. Yeah, and speaking of development, because you said like, hey, you want to go back into development. I don't know when this video is going out or going live, right? But there was a recent hackathon that you also attended, right? Like people coming together, working on challenges, trying to find solutions. Like, I mean, you experienced it firsthand, and I actually hadn't the chance because I was just doing a bit of vacation, so that's hopefully fine for everyone. But how was your experience back then?
Yes, another great hackathon. For me, it was already third or even fourth hackathon with Spryker. I think I attended
a recurring visitor.
All of them, yeah. And second Spryker hackathon. So I really love this idea and I love to attend and I feel very comfortable. What I really enjoyed is the format. I think the whole like structuring, you know, and how everything was organized was really good. I enjoyed these ice-breaking exercises, you know, when you just get to know other people and you are not just starting straight coding, but you actually get some time to get to know people. That's really good.
I saw some paper planes, right? I saw some pictures of people throwing paper planes at each other or something like that.
Yeah, that was like which paper plane would go the far.
Okay.
The further. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was a fun competition. And I enjoyed the topic. I enjoyed, of course, people around. I like that Spryker actually defines the overall topic for the hackathon, and then teams inside of this topic more or less try to choose some interesting direction to work on. What I would improve probably is just give more time for developing, because I think still 1.5 days was not enough to build something interesting. So it was more like a contest of ideas, because in the end, we got some nice ideas, but we didn't have enough time to implement them, I would say. So if it would be like maybe 2 days, 2.5 days, I think that would be much better. And then we would get some working or better prototypes of the ideas which we brought.
Okay, I mean, makes sense, right? Hackathon is basically hacking and marathon, right? So maybe that's why you need a bit more time. But I hope it's at least enough time to build maybe like a small MVP, right? Or like first concept, giving a bit like flesh, right? So it's tangible. I mean, I saw a lot of cool demos from all the teams, like basically trying to showcase where they're heading towards to. So that was super impressive. So really enjoyed that one. Although I have to admit, I'm not a techie myself or not a developer myself. So I'm always like looking at the images and trying to understand like, oh, this sounds cool. But then I'm like, oh, I don't understand all the details, but nevertheless, really impressive. But yeah, speaking of development and your career now attending a lot of hackathons and working on projects, like, yeah, how did you actually become like a developer? Was it something in you, like in your youth, you were like, hey, I love computers and I want to code, or how did that start?
No, that's interesting because I think my first website I built like being in school very, very early. That was a website about like car racing simulators, like, Need for
Ooh,
Speed,
okay, okay,
Grand Theft
okay.
Auto, these games from early 2000s.
Nice.
And I was writing reviews for them on this website. So myself, I was like giving, information about the games, about what's good in these games, what's maybe not so good. It's funny. I wish I would still keep this website, just to just to read them again, because probably from today I think they were a bit childish. Yeah, but still, it was my
Okay,
first
cool.
touch in this web development. Then already at university, I got a job as a IT admin
Mm-hmm.
for a local library. And my tasks were mostly like, okay, fix this printer, fix this computer, do something with the hardware. But at some point, someone asked me, okay, can you make a website for the library? And I thought, yeah, like I have some experience, I'll do that. And
Oh,
then I
nice.
made a website for the library. And then someone else came to me, like another admin, and said, well, actually, I have some clients, but I cannot do sites myself. So can you help me? And, it was very naturally. I kind of started to get some experience, and I liked it. And then I already started to looking for my first full-time job. Yeah, and one web agency um, gave me some, let's say, junior position. Yeah, because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have still enough experience. But thanks to them, they opened me this way to the big, to my big career.
Nice.
Yes, and then I was switching a lot of jobs. As I mentioned, I moved at some point from Moscow to Berlin. I
Mm-hmm.
would say every my position, every my job got me to the next level in
Cool.
some areas. Yeah, sometimes in technology, sometimes in this management experience, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm really, I think, proud of my way, and it's. And I'm
Nice.
happy what's going next.
Yeah, yeah.
What's
So
ahead.
with gaming jargon, you were leveling up, right? Like every time, another level, another achievement, another milestone that you were reaching.
Yes,
So
yes,
that's
that's how I
cool.
see it. Yeah.
And now in your current state, like, I mean, again, this more like a simplified view on it, but are you more like enthusiastic about like front end, back end, or is it more like any other specific topic where you feel like, hey, I love doing this currently, or there's something that inspires you, or is it AI? I don't know. Is there anything that you are like, hey, I can do this all day?
No, I'm mostly a backend person, I would say. So I
Okay.
feel very comfortable with backend, and I definitely can do all day some interesting backend tasks. But I'm also now exploring some front-end areas because I
Mm-hmm.
realized I kind of stuck in this PHP and in this
Mm-hmm.
very small niche area. So I'm trying to expand my horizons. Learning some front-end frameworks, or like Swift UI. So I want to
Cool.
expand my knowledge, and maybe I want even to build my own projects. And for
Mm-hmm.
them, I need more knowledge and more experience with other technologies as well.
Okay. Cool. Then let's go a bit deeper, and there's something in particular that I'm curious to talk about with you. It's like a bit of Spryker, right? In the end, it's one common nominator where we are having this conversation. And
Yes.
yeah, what was that first contact, or when did you have that first contact with Spryker? And maybe what was your initial impression about the technology?
hmm So my first contact was 2017. I was working already in Berlin. I had my first job, and then I got contacted by a recruiter, and he said, "Yeah, well, listen, there is a new like e-commerce platform called Spryker. Maybe you heard about it." I said no, but he said, "Yeah, like you can." Actually, that was this kind of recruiter who is really interested to get you on board. So he
Mm-hmm.
sent me a lot of links, and not only about how cool company is, but also about technology. He sent me some presentations from Fabian, our Spryker first CTO, why Spryker is so good in technology. Yeah, he inspired me to look in the code of Spryker, because Spryker code is open source, so it was a big benefit also back then. And then I decided, okay, well, my main problem on my job before Spryker was the code was really, really messy. And my main pain point was, I want to work with a company where actually the code is really, really good. And when I looked at the Spryker code and when I listened to Fabian's presentations, I was I was impressed. I was thinking, cool. That's the right place to work for. And then I switched to Spryker. So I worked for Spryker for 5 years plus. Also in different positions, but exploring different and growing with the company also, because back then Spryker was not as large company as today. So it was very interesting to go through this path together with Spryker. And so my first impression was really, really positive. It was like a fresh breath, after what I've seen before in PHP. And I really enjoyed to be part of this journey.
That's a really nice detail, because I think when I have in conversation with other people from our community about development, etc., people talk about hey, I love that the code is that I can understand the code, I can work with it, etc. And sometimes, again, not developer myself, I'm trying to build okay, what's the comparison to me that I can kind of relate with? And sometimes I feel assuming that I would be, let's say, doing something at home, right? And I need a drilling machine. I would also hate doing it if the drilling machine would be 20 years old, right? So basically the tools that I'm using are not made for my higher standards, the way I want to work with them or interact with them. So it's kind of relatable that developers these days are hey, you want me to spend 8 hours a day on this? Come on. Make it fun, right? And make it engaging, so that the technology is inviting me, right? And it feels doesn't feel like a burden, right? It feels hey, it's cool and it's maybe inspirational to a certain degree, etc. So it's cool to hear that. I guess Spryker is able to keep up with that expectation to a certain degree.
Yes.
Cool. And then is there any learning that you made so far? I mean, also talking with other developers, Spryker is a new technology, cool new code base, etc. But I guess also a bit daunting, right? A lot of new things to learn, etc. And maybe something that people need to become comfortable with. So how was it for you, that learning curve, etc. And maybe anything you learned along the way where you're hey, I will never forget about that.
Well, learning was definitely hard, I would say, because also back then, in 6 years ago, there was much less documentation and much less, much less experience around, I would say. But also the system was much less. So let's say Spryker was smaller as a platform. So it helped me, because I think now when people start with Spryker nowadays, they really got impressed with the size. You need to learn B2C, B2B, marketplace, a lot of features, a lot of different concepts. So maybe what helped me really is to start from the roots, from these talks from Fabian, which I already mentioned, because they describe the very beginning of Spryker, how it appeared, why it appeared, what are some core concepts in the foundation of Spryker. And when you start from the roots, when you just go feature by feature, try not to be overwhelmed by this, and starting from the roots, I think that's what helped me, and also set the right expectations. I think no one really knows Spryker in 100% of Spryker. It's so big that it's impossible to learn it, to learn all the features. So just give yourself some time. Don't push too much. Just learn step by step, and I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, definitely makes sense to me, right? So in the end, spending time on what are the fundamentals, the guiding principles, understanding where Spryker is coming from and the philosophy of things. That's probably helpful for the long run, right? Where you feel like, okay, this is why some things exist in this way and maybe differ from other technologies in that sense. So that's cool. Yeah, we appreciate the answer from you. Thanks, Vasily. And is there anything right now that you are either working on? I mean, it's not about spoiling anything, right? And keep all your secrets, etc. But is there anything that you enjoy currently work when it comes to Spryker? Anything that you might be able to share, or maybe tease, whatever it is. Maybe if you don't, no problem.
No, I really still enjoy like working with Spryker as a platform, even after these 6 or 7 years. This, the Spryker way, kinda, I still like it, even though it didn't change so much. But the way Spryker is structured, yeah, the way you solve problems using Spryker, I really enjoy it, and it's hard to explain to someone who's never who never tried Spryker. But I think also it's understandable from people who already tried Spryker, yeah, that there is some kind of Spryker way which you try to apply to your tasks, to your challenges which you have. And I really enjoy to solve my daily tasks in this Spryker way, let's say. And
cool.
How the code is flexible. Yeah, I think many people mention that, but it's really a big advantage that you can change any tiny part of Spryker, and you don't need to rewrite the whole shopping list model if you just need to change one tiny part. You can just replace this small piece, and that's the way how it's done also in a technical way. I think it's very elegant and interesting, and I still enjoy to explore how Spryker is done inside and how to extend it in the best possible way.
Nice.
So this is my, let's say, daily things which I enjoy. I also work on a lot of like small side projects. Yeah, some of these ideas came from hackathon, so maybe I find some time to finish them one day. There was a really interesting idea about auto wiring in Spryker, which I tried to implement in one of previous hackathons, I think last summer. So yeah, I think this auto wiring is something Spryker is missing, because you spend a lot of time on like wiring classes together, registering them, registering dependencies, creating factories, and so on. So, and other solutions like Symfony or Laravel, they kind of automate this process. Yeah, you just define, you just write PHP classes, you define dependencies, and then the wiring is done automatically based on the PHP code you wrote. So I was trying to implement this for Spryker universe. It is still like draft implementation, but yeah, if someone is interested to help me with finishing this,
okay,
I
so
would be
call
happy
out to everyone watching this video. Get into contact with Vasily either via CommerceQuest or any kind of way. You can also find Vasily, I guess, on LinkedIn, etc. If you want like a small side project working head to head on wiring, right? Was the term
auto wiring? Yes,
auto wiring. Then give him a quick note. Thanks for that, and keep up with the great ideas. I think in the end, innovation comes from everyone, right? So cool ideas from the community, external parties like, hey, what about X? What about Z? Can we talk about it? That's always great. It's just like fueling the innovation pipeline. So there's one last question then to you, because you were talking about like you being introduced to Spryker at some point and learning. So if someone is now, I also want to learn about that Spryker way of things, like what is Vasily talking about? I want to experience that myself. Like maybe I would like to spend some time on learning Spryker. Like, would there be anything you would recommend to that young enthusiast?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because as I mentioned, now Spryker is so big that it might be overwhelming to start, because you have probably people might have feeling, that's too big, I will never learn it, and so on. So I would probably recommend to go in all the learning materials which Spryker gives. I know you guys keep a lot of work to keep them updated, and enjoyable learning of new things. Yeah, so I would say first go through all the basic education materials, and then just try to install demo shop locally, try to develop some features on it, and maybe some dummy features, but still it's interesting to see how different things are implemented in Spryker way, and you only learn it by doing.
Nice.
Also, of course, install GitHub Copilot, or like, this is not an advertisement from Microsoft, but
all good.
I think it's a very, very nice tool. Also, like in the beginning, that helps you to to get this up to completion for a lot of features. It's surprisingly powerful in in auto completing also Spryker specific code. I was impressed.
Cool.
So that's my learning of this year, that these AI helpers can be so much helpful.
Yeah, thanks for the recommendation. I think in the end it's about being productive, right? And finding efficient ways, etc. So that's really cool. And so yeah, GitHub Copilot, everyone check it out. And I guess attending a hackathon might also be recommended, Vasily, right? Like, if
yes, that's a fun way to get involved for sure.
Nice. Okay, I mean, that's basically it. So again, big thank you for spending those minutes with me, talking about a bit of your journey. So everyone watching this, get into contact with Vasily, ask questions, maybe find your own career path, and follow Vasily. Maybe he can answer your question if you have one for him, etc. And thanks again, Vasily, for joining.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you.